come from a country where what we are prepared and groomed for is called the corporate life. If you don't have a Rolex by the time you reach 50, then you've clearly failed in your life. Those are not my words. Those are the words of the closest advisor to France's former Président de la République, which he said on national TV. The culture of hard work is hammered in our brains right from the moment we start school. We are brought up in an environment that revolves around grades. They define us, they follow us throughout our entire life, school life, but they're also what makes us be appreciated by our teachers, our families, our friends, and also society. How is your daughter? I would sometimes hear friends of my parents ask them. Oh, great, she just scored a 16 out of 20 to her midterms exam. As if my well-being was only connected to my grades. But the pressure is so strong, so early on, that it pushes us to do one thing, which is to learn by heart. Why? Because as young kids, we don't want to disappoint. And it is so ingrained in us that you shouldn't be surprised if the first time two French people meet each other, one of the very first questions they might ask each other is this: what school did you go to? By answering, it gives the other an understanding of how smart you are, according to the French school system. For instance, if someone says, I've been to business school X or I've been to university Y, you can easily assess their educational path and whether it has been judged excellent, great, good, or average at best. Like many French students, I followed that path. Not necessarily because I wanted to, but I'm going to be honest, at 16 years old, I had no idea about what I wanted to do with my life. So I followed. I went to a good private high school, I went to a fairly good business school, and all of that landed me a corporate job. I started my career working for a bank, where my salary was based on the school I graduated from, which means people who came from a better school than me earned more than me for the exact same job. And people who did a school that was not good as mine learned a little bit less, once again, for the exact same job. But as a young professional, I was really excited to venture into the work life. I was really ready to give my best in everything I was given. And what happened? Well, the reward of my enthusiasm was often met with sentences with, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but it's not your role, don't do anything. Or, speaking of not doing anything, I also heard a lot, don't do anything for now, we have to wait for approval. An approval that never came. In reality, what I was taught was to stay in my lane. At some point, all of this started to feel like it was not for me. It was working for others. I had colleagues who loved what they were doing, and there were others who were just pushing through. But for me personally, it was not working. And I told myself, okay, if it's not working, I have to do something about it because nobody else is going to help me here. So I really have to do something. And when I asked myself, okay, what do I want to do? I didn't really know, but what I knew is that being a lucky European, if I couldn't find something in Paris, because I didn't necessarily want to stay in Paris, then maybe I could look for something else, something that was not in France, something that was in another European country. And that's exactly what I did. I packed my bags and I moved to Berlin. New city, new culture, new work, I found job, new work culture. All super exciting. But the first year in Berlin was terrible. Not because of Berlin, don't get me wrong, Berlin is an amazing city, but because of the job I had found. A company with zero culture and a place where people were staying on average 3 months. 3 months. Because of really bad company culture and ethics. Except this time, I told myself, I have not moved all the way from Paris to Berlin for this. There is no way in the world I'm staying in this company. And this is where graduating from a business school came handy. Because I told myself, okay, I tried marketing and communication, and somehow I don't find myself in there. But because I graduated from a business school, I also had learned about management, HR, finance, so many other topics, so many other hats, so many other lanes that I had not explored. And I told myself, okay, maybe I can explore those. And you see, I also saw the fact of being a non-German an advantage. Because in Berlin, nobody cared about the business school I had done. People were more interested in what I could bring to the table. So I started looking for something else, and I also started to learn new things that I thought could be really beneficial to a new job. And then one day, looking for my professional self, I came across an ad that said, Chief Happiness Officer of a Coworking Space. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I had no clue what was a Chief Happiness Officer. I also didn't know what was a coworking space, but I was a little bit curious, I have to admit, and I said, okay, let me click on this. I clicked on the ad, and while I didn't get everything at first, what I understood is that they were looking for someone who was not afraid of doing things, someone who could wear many hats, and someone who was curious. It felt like they were looking for someone like me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to apply. And I got the job. But before I go any further with how coworking helped me find myself professionally, I would love to ask you guys a question. Please raise your hand if you have ever used a coworking space. Wow, that's a lot of hand raise. I love it. Nice. So for those of you guys who are not familiar with what coworking is, let me try to explain it briefly. A coworking space on the outside layer of it might look like an office, a space that is shared by different professionals or different companies. To join a coworking space, you are usually paying a membership, similar to a membership you would get to join a gym, and that membership gives you access to the space at different times of the day, the month, and whatnot. But the beauty of coworking is not in the outer layer. It is in the inside layer. So if you peel that coworking onion, the magic of coworking lies right inside. Why? Because coworking have the power to change neighborhoods for the better. They are social places that allow people to gather in many different ways. And let me give you an example. Let's picture a building, wherever you're from, whether it is from here, a village, a city. Imagine a building that has been abandoned for many years. Now let's imagine that same building, someone in the crowd today would think, okay, maybe I could make a coworking space. I've heard to that French girl in that TED talk, she talked about it, that was interesting. Can I do something? And then you would go on and you would say, okay, I'm going to convert that building and I'm going to make a coworking space. What's going to happen? Suddenly in that neighborhood where that building was looking sad, ugly, abandoned, you are going to convert it into something where people can go to work, people can go to meet, people can go to network, learn from each other. And down the road, what's going to happen is that you're going to change the entire neighborhood. You're going to bring so many opportunities for the neighborhood to get revived and to connect to itself and allow people to really meet each other. That's the beauty of coworking. Through coworking, I experienced a professional rebirth. I found a place where diversity was embraced, where failures and mistakes were celebrated, but also where collaboration was enhanced. In that space, I met a person who is here today, with whom we started to be really interested in the positive impact of coworking on people and cities. Something that was going beyond our space and something that was going beyond Berlin. So together, we embarked on a global journey around the world of co-working spaces. A journey, I should say, that we organized ourselves entirely from beginning to end. A journey we financed ourselves entirely from beginning to end. Why? Because we understood that if you really want something, there are always ways to make things work for you. And that's exactly what we did. And while visiting over 500 co-working spaces by now in 53 cities, all the way from Tokyo to New York, we had the chance to meet over 2,000 people. People who themselves started co-working spaces. But the interesting thing is that before starting co-working spaces, some of them were lawyers, some of them were also working in corporate companies, some of them were psychologists, architects, interior designers. And they found in co-working a way to support each other, a way to better their own life, but the life of their members. And that is really beautiful. They also developed inspiring workspaces everywhere in the world. Do not think that you have co-working spaces today only in big cities. You can find co-working spaces in remote areas of Japan, all the way to bustling cities like Paris, London, or New York. And one thing also that I want to talk about is that co-working, you might think this is only for techies or freelancers, but in reality today you have co-working spaces for dentists, co-working spaces for beauty professionals, for movie makers. You also have co-working spaces for parents. And more you have co-working spaces for the elderly, people who do not work anymore but find in co-working a way to remain social. The room is full today, full of students, young professionals, and we might also have people today who are looking for their next work adventure. Whichever box you find yourself in, I would love to end this talk by sharing with you 5 questions you could ask yourself throughout your work career and assess your answers as you go along your professional journey. The first one is, am I happy with what I do? Like, really happy? Am I still learning in that job I'm doing every day? Do I feel challenged by what I'm doing? Is this, what I'm doing right now, what I really want? Do I belong where I am? And if at some points answers to those questions starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable, unclear, or leaning towards the no, I hope you'll remember that talk here today, and I hope it will give you this little kick and this little courage to act on it. Because you see, if we truly are the masters of our own destinies, you are the one in charge, you are the one in control to go get what you want. So go get it. Thank you.